Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new week here on the Cabral Concept. Thank you so much for joining me here. Looking forward to getting into today's Mindset and Motivation Monday, my favorite way to start the week with you. And today we're going to be talking about the 7 self-care tips for both the mind and body. And that is why it's so important to me to make sure we're always focused on our mindset as well. And the reason is that if you are a health-based practitioner, you're trying to improve your overall health, your body, your anti-aging based goals, we have to understand is that much of it, again, if I look at my de-stress protocol, 3 parts start with the mind. So we can't always completely heal the body if we have not worked on our mind as well. And the reason is that this thing up here between our ears can cause us a whole lot of stress, cause a whole lot of anxiety, irritability, overwhelm. And when we feel those things, it affects our hormones, our stress hormones. Those things affect our immune system. So I did a whole podcast before. You're welcome to check it out on neuroendoimmunology. It's just how the nervous system, think of the brain attached to the spinal cord, affecting the hormones, which affects the immune system. So the endo is the endocrine system, and the immune system is obviously the immune system. All of these things are so important because whereas we're talking about things like long COVID or dis-ease in any way in the body, they're in some way or another related to our overall stress in our body, as well as then underlying root cause-based health imbalances. So when I'm talking about the mind and body, I'm almost talking about always the same exact thing because they're not independent. They work together. So let's dive into a show that really will help you to reduce overall stress in your mind. And if you can reduce overall stress, you can absolutely improve your overall health and your body transformation and your anti-aging longevity-based goals. So the first self-care tip is this: track your time. I've talked about this many times in many different ways. I think it is one of the most overlooked topics in overall self-care. We are not able to figure out how we spend our 16 hours every single waking hour every day if we don't know what we're doing. So if you're not following a schedule and you are just battling the world as things come up, I'm telling you right now, it is going to be difficult to move forward towards a specific goal. That is even to say if you have a specific goal. Now, if you don't, please go back, check out previous shows. But, in all seriousness, if you don't know how you're spending your 16 waking hours, it's difficult to then regain control of your life. Because it first starts with, well, where are all your hours going? So in my opinion, there are hours that aren't necessarily yours, right? So if you have a job, 8 of those hours might be at your job. 10 of those hours might be at your job. So then what are you doing for those other 6 hours? I have a podcast on that as well called The Missing 6 Hours Per Day. I'm going to link up those last 2 podcasts that I just mentioned today at stephencabral.com/2320. Please go check it out. Listen to those additional shows because they're going to be game changers because most people have what I call a missing 6 hours per day. You might not think that you do, but trust me, listen to the show. You're going to find at least a few hours per day. But what I need you to do is find those hours. And if you're not tracking your time, then it's a near impossibility because if you want to move forward in your life, it's all about consistency. Consistency only happens if you're able to pencil in, or ideally pen in, 1 hour a day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, 30 minutes at lunch, like wherever you can find those chunks of time, they need to be penned into your calendar. But you can't do that if you don't know your schedule. So please, figure out, track your time. And I think this can be vitally important because unfortunately, we don't always think it. We don't always know it. But most people spend about 4 to 5 hours on their phone a day. You might say, well, that's impossible. Think about it. I mean, really, like seriously, think about this. 20 minutes, like even 15 minutes an hour. So if you look at it that way, it's 150 minutes, right? 150 minutes over 10 hours. Apologize if my math is wrong while I'm trying to do this on a podcast. But if I look at that, that's 2.5 hours. And that's only over 10 hours of the day. Add another few, I'm at that 3 hours, 4 hours. It's really important that we understand that we don't lose chunks of our day by just spending it all online and answering or engaging in conversations we just don't necessarily need to be in. So just please think about it. Maybe yours isn't the phone. Maybe yours is doing other things that can be batched, that can be chunked. That's another podcast I have. You don't have to do things that every single day, they could be chunked to 1 hour a day, once a week for your errands to go out to different places. So I'm just trying to help you get back more of your hours so you can use that in a more productive way in order to fulfill your potential towards your specific goals. All right. The second self-care tip is this: detox from the news. Please stop engaging with the news. Once you understand that all media, whether it's on this side or that side, they're all private businesses, every single one. So again, just think about this. At the beginning of the year, and I'll do a whole podcast on this. At the beginning of the year, a business might start with $5 million, we'll just say an overhead. Let's just say it's a small media company. Okay, so $5 million, that includes their rent and their benefits to their employees, their employee wages, and all the different expenses that might go into that, right? So let's just say it's $5 million. Okay, so what do they need to do? Well, they need to sell advertising in order to pay for all of that overhead and then hopefully make some profit. So if we look at that, what are they going to do? Well, then a company steps in and says, oh, I'll advertise on your media news outlet. And it could be one of the big corporations or big pharma or big tech or whatever. And there's just a wink, wink, handshake agreement that you're not going to talk about negatively about this. And you're also going to promote this specific thing. And it's all curated. It's literally all curated. How else could you have one side of the political spectrum only talk about these things and never talk about the things that are negative about that side? And how can you have this side only talk about those specific things and none of the negative things that happen on that side? Remember, take a break from the news. You just take a break from it. You really don't need to be consuming all of the news that you believe is actual factual. For the most part, we have no idea what's going on in most of the world, except for what we're given through our specific media outlet that we believe is somehow factual. It's not. It's all predicated based on what the narrative is at that moment. So again, I just want to be careful. I'm not saying that you don't have to know or shouldn't know some things that are going on in the world. Yes, you probably do. But at least for a period of time, you need to take a break. You need to take a break from it. Then you can try to find more independent sources, see what both sides are saying, which is always a good idea. Keep an open mind. And the last part I would say is you'll at least take a sabbatical from the news for a few weeks, right? Or at least you just won't watch it before bed. You have to be careful what you put into your brain on a daily basis. Because I have people in my own family, they'll be like, oh, well, the news doesn't affect me and that's why I can watch it before bed. Well, it does affect you because everything you see and everything you hear and everything you have emotion around gets brought into your subconscious mind. So you may not consciously believe it affects you at all, but 100% it subconsciously does because it's now a stored memory. So if the news is 90% negative, what's your outlook going to be after a year of watching the news every single night of 90% negative? Well, you can have a pretty negative outlook on the world. So again, let's be careful what we put into our minds. The third one is this. So that's detox the news. The third one is detox from the negative friends, the negative family, or the negative coworkers. Okay. You might say, well, I can't forget about my family. But I totally understand. Again, I get it. What I'm saying is at some point, you may want to spend less time for a period of 3 or 4 weeks so that you can get yourself more settled. That's that 21-day sabbatical I've spoken about many, many years ago on my podcast. You need to take some time. If you're doing a functional medicine detox, maybe during that period of time, you're detoxing from the news, you're detoxing from too much caffeine, you're detoxing from sugar, you're detoxing from negative people. You're literally trying to hit the whole body reset. It's not a bad idea. But if you can't detox from them for that 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then just ease back into it, and then you'll have a different mindset. Okay, I'm going to just accept this person for who they are, if they're family, even though they might always be talking negative and how the sky is falling all the time and everything else. And you're trying to talk about again, you're not living in reality, but you're just saying like, listen, yeah, there are those things, but we can also focus on some positive things. And so, because you've been doing your news detox, right? So what I'm saying is this: you might want to just spend a little bit less time with those people and more time with those people that are building you up, and you're building them up in your new mindset and belief system. All right, self-care number tip for the mind and body. Number 4 is this: move your body more. You might say, well, how does that help the mind? It clears the mind. When you move the body, it clears the mind. Try going for a jog. Try going for a walk. Don't even pop in headphones. You can if you want, but I recommend if you're going for a walk, pop in headphones and listen to some binaural beats. Listen to our free binaural beats inside of the iBone app. It's free. You can just use them and just allow your mind just to rest for a moment. It allows it to quiet the thoughts, as there's specific frequencies that are being used to help bring those waves down, those brain waves down to a more calming based state. We can think more clearly and new ideas come to you. During some of the most challenging and hardest moments in my life, I always went back to walking and binaural beats. I can't recommend enough. 7,000 and 10,000 steps a day. Get out there and start walking. Go for a jog if you want. That's great too. Why? Well, when you're huffing and puffing, really difficult to be thinking about all the negative thoughts about the world and life and all that. You're breathing. You're literally moving your lymphatic system. You're recycling, you're removing out a lot of what's called the toxic fluids. So in the interstitial milieu, which feeds all the cells in your body. Remember, you have 40 trillion cells in your body, 30 to 40 trillion, give or take a trillion. You have all of those cells that are now breathing and removing waste and taking in nutrients. It's like, it's just this wave going in and out, and it's really so amazing for your body. So do that. Do some weight training if you want. Do some kickboxing. Just get your body moving more days than not. Try to take 30 minutes every single day and get that body moving, all right? Whether it's walking, whether it's weights, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's swimming, just get your body moving. I'm telling you right now, it is something that you won't regret. Meaning, I don't know a human being alive, and I worked in fitness for a long time. I don't know a human alive that didn't enjoy their time after a workout. Now, I remember many people not wanting to work out that day, but everyone, when they finished, was happy they did. All right. And if you're not happy you did, then you did a workout that was simply too crushing for the body. Self-care tip number 5 is say no a little bit more often, at least for a period of time. This goes back to my kind of detoxing from the news, detoxing from negative people for a period. Just, you have a lot of demands on your time. I'm not saying that you can stop taking your kids to school, after school activities, for you not to go to class anymore, for you not to do whatever. But for a period of time, don't take on extras. You can literally tell people like, listen, I'm taking it easier this summer. I'm not necessarily taking a vacation per se. I'm just not taking on a little extra projects like this. When I was I just write bullets sometimes for the podcast. I have 7 bullets right now. As I was writing this bullet, number 5, I literally sent an email right before it. And that's kind of how it got created here, because I could give you 1 million, but 1 million you can't implement. 7, I think that you can, or you can at least pick your 3 or 4 favorite. So I kept getting requests and requests and requests. And again, I'm super grateful for this. Don't get me wrong. I'm like extremely grateful that I'm being asked and have been asked to do many speaking events. And for 2 years, I didn't travel during the pandemic. And so I was like, well, now it's really nice to be able to get out there and see people again. And it's just great. I love it. It's very charging, but at the same time, I have quite a few demands on my time. Most of them are self-imposed. And I just started saying, no, you know what? I was like, I'm not traveling for the summer. That's it. Like, I've got one travel date that was scheduled 6 months ago, 7 months ago, not canceling that, but I am not traveling. I'm just literally not traveling until mid-September. That's it. So what's that? About 3 months. And that's me saying no. I'm saying I'm going to enjoy my July and August in Maine. That's it. I'm going to enjoy my time, and that's okay for you to also do the same. All right, number 6 is this. Create a vision board. I have been working on this with my 2 daughters. They've been very interested in more about this thing, called your mind, and not just the brain, but the mind, and the body's ability to bring into physical reality that which was once a thought. And I think this is very fascinating because as a child, you're a little bit more open to it, especially if you're younger than 8. Now, my daughters are getting a little older now, not of course old, but older. And this is the time where everything's kind of being solidified from the child mind to the more, not adolescent, but almost. As adults, we don't necessarily believe it as much anymore because we've been hardened by life. But this is why doing a vision board kind of brings out the kid in you. It's my recommendation that you put some things on this board, you can cut them out, you can draw them, you can, obviously you can find any photo online. But the goal is to put a few things on the board that you've already accomplished, that you've always wanted to accomplish, and you have done it. So that tells the brain, listen, I've already checked off a few of these. And I've got a whole podcast on vision boards as well. Maybe we can link that up as well for my team. But the thing is, then you're going to put some other visions for your future that you want on there. Some might not be able to be accomplished this year. That's okay, right? You've got a few years. You don't have to rush these things, but put them up there. Things that you believe in, things that you want more of, some things you already have. I'm telling you, it's one of the most enjoyable things you can do. It's a lot of fun. Have the whole family create one for themselves. All right, number 7, the last self-care tip I'd like to give you for the day for both mind and body is this. 30 minutes a day. So I need you to find 30 minutes a day. Upon waking, at lunch, mid-afternoon, mid-morning, after the kids go to bed, after your spouse goes to bed, like whatever you want to do. I need 30 minutes a day, okay? And the reason is I want you to take that 30 minutes, get rid of the news or get rid of scrolling through your phone on the couch at night for 30 minutes. I want to get an actual book, not a Kindle book, not any other type of book. I want a real book in your hands. Because there is something about holding a physical book, getting off screens, reading words, dog-earing, highlighting if you'd like to, taking notes. Get back to actual reading. Choose a nonfiction book. That's my recommendation. Fiction would be okay. It's good to read stories. It's enjoyable. There's no doubt about it. But what I'd like you to do is choose a book that you believe will move you forward to one of those goals on your vision board. Just read about it. It could just simply be a self-improvement book. I've talked about all sorts of self-improvement books in the past. The Magic of Thinking Big, the Old School Attractive Factor. I've talked about The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. I've talked about Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley. So many, again, like hundreds of books I've mentioned before on self-improvement. They're all great first places to start. Audio is really nice as well, but I do recommend, if possible, reading a book. Even if you don't consider yourself the best reader, that's okay. Nobody's judging you. Don't judge yourself. If you can read for 30 minutes a day, ideally before bed. Why? Because then it's in your mind. It is what you're thinking about right before bed. Get yourself ready for bed, walk the dog ahead of time, brush your teeth, then get into bed with that book. It should be the last thing, ideally, if you can. Now, you can also start with some of it in the morning as well. But here's the thing. If you can give yourself, not me, if you can give yourself 30 minutes per day, you're going to be able to finish at least 10 pages a day. If you read 10 pages a day, you read one book a month if it's a 300-page book. That means you can read one book a month for an entire year. That's 12 books. If you can do that around subjects that you enjoy or that you want to learn more about or that would move you forward in your life, I'm telling you right now, you won't even recognize yourself for your life 1 year from now, but you have to start today. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I truly appreciate it. I really do. Please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my health results accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.